What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast. I am, of course, your host, Ethan Smith, who does the most. I hope you all had a phenomenal Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoyed our Thanksgiving episode with Jeff Carr, Bryce Patrick, and Jason Burke yesterday. Hopefully all the food was good. The football, it was okay. I mean, the Raiders-Cowboys game was fun, but we are here, of course, to talk about baseball. Of course, Ben Cherington and the Pittsburgh Pirates have signed Yoshi Tsutsugo to a one-year, $4 million deal. We will get into that today with Adam Bittner of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We will also talk about the Universal DH and some CBA stuff. Now that the Pirates did re-sign Yoshi, could the Universal DH be very beneficial to them? As well as some things that me and Adam are thankful for when it comes to the Pittsburgh Pirates heading into 2022. But before we get into today's episode, I want to thank you guys so much for making me your first listen of the day every single day here on Black Friday. It is the Locked On Pirates podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, and I will see you on the flip side after the music hits.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And like I said, as soon as you hear the music hit, we will be back. And we are back here on Friday, November 26th, I believe. Is it the 26th? Can I count? Yes, it is. It is the 26th. I don't know. We're almost in December already, and it feels like the offseason's been lasting 2 weeks, and it's actually already been almost a month. But as always, we are double boxed today on Fridays with Mr. Adam Bittner of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Adam, how was your Thanksgiving? How was the food? How was everything for you yesterday?
It was a nice time. I had just enough food. I didn't really overdo it this year, so feeling pretty good today. It had a little bit of a stomach ache last night, but I'm over it now. So
yeah, so for me, I always overdo it, sadly, but I guess, like, usually I can. I don't know why, but it's like, I usually just do just because, you know, when your parents cook enough food, you're like, hey, like, you don't really want to, like, leave a lot of their food left over. The only thing I got mad about is I thought she left the stuffing over, and she didn't this morning, so I was very upset about that. But hopefully everybody listening also had a wonderful Thanksgiving as well. Hopefully you're having an awesome Black Friday. If you're Black Friday shopping while you're listening to the podcast, shouts out to you instead of going out at 5 a.m. like my mom did this morning. But we are, of course, a Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, which is what we will be talking about today. And obviously, the biggest news is going to be, of course, talking about Mr. Yoshi Tsutsugo, the power-hitting first baseman / right fielder, indeed signs to a one-year, $4 million deal, as many expected. There was kind of a little rift between it on if he would come back to Pittsburgh, but Ben Cherington gets it done. He said he wanted to get it done for weeks now, and they finally get it done a couple days ago. What were your immediate thoughts to this deal getting done?
Yeah, I gotta say I was a little surprised in terms of the dollars. It was probably a little higher than I was expecting for someone who the Pirates really picked up off the scrap heap for nothing. $4 million is not chump change. I thought that was a little higher than I expected him to sign for. And the term, I think that's the thing that I have questions about, just because, I don't really know who it serves, because, let's say Yoshi has a great year, and everything works out the way you'd hope. Well, he's probably not coming back to Pittsburgh after that. Mm-hmm. And you haven't locked him all into your future. And if he struggles, then, then what? Then you're gonna lose him anyway, because you're probably not gonna want to play him. So I just feel like there's not a ton of upside here for the Pirates, and it almost feels like this was a deal they kind of made because they could, and because they didn't want to make the fans mad, because I think the fans wanted to see him back, and I think their hope is probably that when we get to this time next year. Even if Yoshi has a good year, there will be enough other good stories going on with this franchise that they can justify letting him go. But right now, I guess they feel like they can't. So, if I'm a Pirates fan, I'm a little disappointed with the term. I would have liked to see maybe 2 or 3 years and maybe a lower cost so that it's a lower risk move. But right now, I just think that there's not a ton of upside for the Pirates, even if he does well, because they're probably going to lose him in 2023.
Yeah, and I have kind of the same thought process as well. I mean, I won't say the 1 year four is bad, especially if you're just it depends on how you look at Yoshi. Are you looking at him as a guy that's just going to help the team a little bit in 2022, or are you looking at him as a possible, as you mentioned, 2 or 3 year guy? If he does have a good year next year, I think you have to look at him under the microscope of a guy that can be around when this team is competing. So what the one deal that I was hoping that they might do was maybe 2 years, 6.5 million. So that would have been like about $2.5-3 million a year almost, around that range. I thought that would have been perfect because it's not a lot of committed money, and you're also saying if he does good next, like in 2022, when he comes back in 2023, realistically, you're getting a bargain for a power hitting player that's really done pretty well in Pittsburgh for the most part. I mean, I believe his average sat around 268. He had double-digit home runs while he was here. The only real question with him is his fielding, but of course, in the next segment, we'll get into the universal DH and stuff. But if they do bring in a universal DH, then all you have to do is tell him to hit, and you take that fielding dynamic away, which is like his biggest issue, and then you really have just a very good power hitting like hitter in your lineup every single day.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not for nothing. He brings a little bit more excitement. He brings a little more power to the team, and whether this Pirates team is going to be good or not, I'm sure fans are excited that he will be there to be watched on a nightly basis, and I think that's fair. I just, it just feels like the upside is not where you would want it to be if you're a Pirates fan, and you always want to buy low and sell high, right? And
yes.
A 3-year, $12 million deal really wouldn't have been that big an outlay for this guy if he was willing to make that deal. So, we don't know the dynamics of what he wanted versus what the club wanted. He may have thought, give me 1-year deal, give me decent money, and I'm going to go out and hopefully, ball out and prove myself and get, a $20 million deal in free agency. That may have been the thinking on his part. He may not have wanted to go more than 1 year, because he may be betting on himself. But if I'm the Pirates, it's that's the only disappointing part to me, is that you'd love to see this guy back if things work out, and I think it becomes much less of a sure thing if we're sitting here next year and he has 20-25 homers or more on his ledger. I think he's going to play himself out of being an affordable piece of the Pirates' future.
Yeah, and I mean, is there also, would you think the potential that the Pirates could move him at the deadline, and maybe that's why they went with a 1-year deal, to say maybe he has a very good first half of the season and they offload him, much like they did like all the players they did at the deadline, like Frazier and Clay Holmes last year?
Yeah, I think that's possible, and we've talked about those possibilities on this podcast. I think Pirates fans have a little bit more of an emotional attachment to this guy than they did to someone like, Tyler Anderson or some of these other guys that they've flipped. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't make the deal. If the deal presents itself, I just think that's it's the kind of thing where you're making the fans happy now, but are people going to be excited to see this guy traded for prospects in a couple of weeks and then, end up with another, not a couple of weeks, but a couple months into the season, and then maybe he ends up on a different team. I don't know. I just think it's a mixed emotions type thing. Good that they're spending some money. Good that they're bringing back a guy who was popular. But I think the future is murky at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, there's real cause for it, but I mean, I guess it is good that as of right now, he's a Pittsburgh Pirate, like a lot of people wanted him to be. And of course, we will be following all of that stuff as well, with the idea that Mason Martin also wasn't protected on the 40-man roster. So that's another puzzle piece to add to this, as to another reason why I thought he might have got a larger deal and a longer deal. But of course, guys, as I mentioned to you, all the way up through Thanksgiving. Today's episode, of course, is brought to you by the wonderful people at Built Bar. It is now after Thanksgiving, so hopefully you chose to have Built Bars instead of those wonderful pies. Feast on something delicious and feel good about it. Low carb, low calorie, low fat, and high protein. Built Bars are covered in 100% chocolate, and they're a great option for when you're hungry. If Thanksgiving isn't coming soon enough, which it already did, or if the leftovers aren't doing enough, go for a Built Bar or two. Share some of your family gatherings as well. It makes things less awkward. New surprises are coming all month. Limited time flavors are arriving at BuiltBar.com regularly, so check the site often. There's nothing like a Built Bar Black Friday. Mark your calendar. Black Friday will be a huge event today with all sorts of surprises. Go to BuiltBar.com right now. Use the promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off of your order when you use the promo code LOCKED15, which if you're on YouTube, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, but I'm also telling it to you in your ear if you're on audio. Make sure you go do it. Built Bars are amazing. I have gotten some people on them lately, and they've loved it ever since. Of course, thank you guys also for making me your first listen of the day every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for always listening to Adam as well on Fridays. And also, hopefully, ingesting some of Adam's content over the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette as well. He does a phenomenal job over there. And as we mentioned earlier, with the Yoshi Tsutsugo move, it now places two guys at first base pretty much in Colin Moran and Yoshi Tsutsugo. It appears there's no indication to move on from Colin Moran at the time of this podcast. So, really, do the Pirates need the universal DH at this point?
To keep both guys on the roster, probably. I think it's hard to justify $8 million into, excuse me, a first base platoon, which is what you'd probably have with these guys. I think you want one of them to be your everyday first baseman, and you want one to be your your everyday DH, if that comes to pass. But if it doesn't, I think we've seen enough of Colin Moran at this point to. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pirates were ready to move on from him either. Just from a payroll versus production standpoint, between the injuries and the inconsistency, I think he's developed into being a professional hitter, but I don't think he's going to be a difference maker in a lineup. And so I think they may be ready to move on and see what they can get for him in the trade market. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing, but if the universal DH does come this year, I think obviously that this is a good situation for the Pirates in the short term because it gives them a place to play both guys. I'm still dubious on the long-term future of the Pirates with the DH. I think it's one more position that they're going to have to pay money for that we haven't seen them be willing to spend over the years, and I think there's a potential there that. You're gonna need nine solid hitters instead of 8, and anytime that's the case, I don't think that bodes well for the Pirates. There's been plenty of times that there's been holes in the lineup even when the Pirates were good, and depth has been an issue. And so, I think if you're a Pirates fan, you have to be afraid that now you got to field 9 guys, and that's harder than fielding 8, and so that would be my long-term concern, but in the intermediate term, I definitely think it can help in terms of roster construction and using the guys you have available.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, about the Universal DH coming, especially if the National League, not only the Pirates, but every team is going to have to kind of adjust to it. Of course, for the better teams like the Braves and the Dodgers, it'll be a little bit easier because they have the depth to where, we get to throw another bat in the lineup. That's amazing. But for teams like the Pirates, the Reds, even like the Brewers who struggled to hit the baseball this year, they're just going to have to go find another guy to hit in the lineup every single day. And even in some cases, if that guy gets hurt, then you have to have another player go to the DH line as well. So it's a really different dynamic. I mean, it's a more of obviously an American League dynamic because it's something that American League teams have done since its inception of that league. In the National League, I'm ready for it personally. No offense to pitchers at all that hit. There are plenty of pitchers that hit the baseball well. I just don't think they need to be doing it anymore. Realistically, just for me, pitchers should just pitch. That's just what I think they should do. Nobody's asking a quarterback in the NFL to also play middle linebacker, are they? Nobody's asking a center to also play point guard in the NBA. It's like kind of asking for too much at this point. And I mean, we've also it happens very like limit in a very limited capacity, but when it does happen, it's very annoying to me is when pitchers get hurt when they're hitting in the batter's box, or if they get hit by a pitch and they get hurt on their wrist or something like that, then they can't do what they're really rightfully paid to do. Because nobody's really going into a meeting with, say, Noah Syndergaard, who just signed a $21 million deal with the Los Angeles Angels. I doubt that they really cared about his 138 career batting average or whatever it was that he has. Like, they're signing the guy to pitch. There's one guy in the entire league right now that can do what I just said and hit and pitch, and that's Shohei Ohtani. And as of right now, until Bubba Chandler becomes a Pittsburgh Pirate at the major league level, he's going to be the only one. I'm completely joking, by the way. I don't know if they're going to make Bubba Chandler a two-way player or not. But I agree with what you said 100%. Short term, it definitely would help because, I mean, me and Gary talked about this on Monday. They currently have 8 outfielders and 9 middle infielders on the 40-man roster. Clearly, that will not stay the same up until March. But also, if you have a universal DH, maybe you can keep a guy like a Diego Castillo or or like one of those guys on the 40-man roster or even on the 26-man roster and have them hit every couple days or play the field and have another guy switch out a DH. But of course, I think Yoshi, if the universal DH does happen, will more than likely be the DH, just because I think Colin Moran is just slightly better than him defensively, and neither of them are the greatest defensive players in the planet. Don't get me wrong here at all. They're not like Gold Glove candidates or anything, but I would think Yoshi would probably be the DH. You could also see if they bring in a backup catcher, which I fully expect with Michael Perez getting DFA to Indianapolis. I think that could be another guy that could be really in the running for doing that as well. And, I mean, again, with all the middle infielders and outfielders you have, slide one of them into the DH spot and give a guy a chance out there in the outfield as well any given day. So that's kind of what it does in the short term, is it gives the guys a lot more opportunities for hits and hitting and seeing them in the batter's box. Long term, though, as you mentioned, it's going to kind of be annoying if the Pirates are about to compete in 2023 or 2024 and the only thing they're missing is a DH and they just aren't willing to go pay for it, and ultimately it ends up being their downfall.
Yeah, I think that's the fear is that it costs more to have a DH, generally speaking, unless you have depth. And there are teams. I think of the Cardinals. I think they're the National League team that comes to mind first for me, because they always have to seem to have that guy who's able to step in to avoid and produce from their farm system for cheap. And so if things work out the way the Pirates are telling us and hoping, excuse me, then maybe it's a good thing. Maybe you do have depth. Maybe that's a place for you to show your depth. Maybe it's a place where you, like you said, you can develop a prospect. Give a guy major league at bats without throwing him out in the field. Mix different guys in if you have 2 or 3 that you want to give some playing time to. It adds flexibility, but the flip side is if you don't have that depth, it exposes you in a way that you weren't exposed before. And I think if we looked back at those 2013, 14, 15 Pirates teams, they might not have been as deep. They might not have been as good, because you're dealing with 8 players in the lineup really realistically instead of 9. So, I think that helps consolidate their depth a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out. I just, I can remember large stretches of my life where the Pirates didn't have a first baseman who could hit his weight. And so I just get dubious about adding another power hitter to the lineup when there's been corner positions on this team for decades that they haven't been able to fill out. And I just think adding another position where you expect to get some power, especially in this day and age, there's been times where, maybe the Pirates could have slipped in, a singles hitting free agent there and been fine. But in this day and age, you want some power from that spot. And there's plenty of spots that they don't have power. So now you're just adding another one to the list. So it really puts the pressure on Ben Cherington and company to really build the depth of the system so that, maybe you're not thriving there. Maybe you don't have like a 40, 50 home run hitter there like some teams. but you're not falling, behind, and you have a couple solid guys who can, go out and be professionals out there for you.
Well, now that we were talking about this and you were talking about power hitting and stuff like that, one guy I wouldn't mind seeing there for the future for a little bit, O'Neal Cruz. Wouldn't mind him as a DH, honestly. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Fielding wise, I mean, he's picking it up a little bit, but I wouldn't mind O'Neal Cruz as a DH if it does happen.
Yeah, I mean, definitely his minor league fielding numbers are not yet where you'd want them to be. I'm still tantalized by his size at that position at shortstop. Over the long run, I think if he can figure out how to harness it, it could be a good thing. And I'm intrigued to see that play out. I don't want to give up on him as a fielder quite yet. I'd hope that, some time with the big league coaching staff especially could, hone his skills a little bit. I know there's been a lot of talk about putting that arm in the outfield. Maybe that's more of a long-term home for him. Where it's more about judging fly balls and things like that than reacting to sharply hit ground balls and stuff like that. So I don't know. I still want to see that experiment play out. If it ends up that he's really just a DH and the DH comes to the National League, I guess if you're a Pirates fan, the hope is that he can hold that position down for a long time. And maybe this conversation we're having, renders itself moot. But I still want to see that play out. I'm still curious, especially while the Pirates aren't competing for anything, as we don't expect them to next year. I want to see if he can develop, and I want to see if he can be a long-term answer at shortstop, because that's another position that, the Pirates really haven't had an impact player since Jack Wilson, and I think Jack Wilson as an impact player is probably a questionable proposition too. He was a great defender, but he wasn't always a great hitter. They've never really had that whole package, in my lifetime, certainly. So, I still want to see. I want to still want to see how that goes.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I never thought the name Jack Wilson would make it on this podcast. That's why I made that face. I was like, wow, I completely forgot about him as a player. But he was actually not that bad, as you mentioned. He wasn't like a terrible player, but not exactly somebody that you'd call a franchise cornerstone. But yeah, of course, if the Universal DH comes, we'll be all over it here at the Locked On Pirates podcast, just like you should be all the way over at betonline.ag. BetOnline, of course, it's a big weekend for college football, as Adam knows, and BetOnline is back and better than ever. A new web interface is here for the start of the basketball season, and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all of the basketball and football action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code Locked On to receive your bonus, meaning if you throw $100 in there, they'll give you $50 of free money. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline is where the game starts. Now, I know Thanksgiving was yesterday. We already kind of heard some of the other guys talk about this, but about their teams. So what are you thankful for from the Pirates heading into 2022? Again, it appears that it's going to be kind of an interesting year. It's not going to be like a World Series year or anything, but what are you thankful for heading into this upcoming year?
Well, I'm thankful that the Pirates are out here making moves. Before a possible lockout. There's been off seasons recently where they haven't done anything remotely like this, and they've only really signed 2 major league free agents. So, they haven't been setting the world on fire. But Ben Cherington's been aggressive. He's gone out and made some deals. He's made this team better for 2022. I don't think that necessarily means it's going to be good. But he's showing an interest in seeing what he can get out of the free agent market. And I think, like we were saying, maybe you can flip both of these guys for prospects. And I don't know how popular that would be. The other guy being Jose Quintana, I'm referring to. I don't know how popular that'll be if those guys play well. You might be hearing a lot of same old Pirates and that type of thing. But I think it's better than not signing people, right? I mean, you'd rather have players than not have players. And, I think you'd rather turn the resources you have for 2022 into something for 2023. And who knows? Maybe these guys will be willing to sign long-term deals here if they have success. Maybe there's more hope for that now. I think we just saw this, long-term deal for Wander Franco down in Tampa. That's not something that they've traditionally done, but maybe those guys down there know something we don't about the new CBA and the direction of where the winds are blowing right now. So, I think I like that if you're a Pirates fan, while a lot of baseball is sitting on their hands, we have moves like this to talk about. And I think that's what should make this time of year fun. Recent years, November and December haven't really been great, for free agent news and all that, because there's been a lot of stalls in the market. And, it seems like we've waited till February for a lot of the biggest deals to happen. But Ben Cherington's making things interesting now, and I think that's what you want if you're a Pirates fan. And if there's a couple more deals, between now and spring training, I think you can feel pretty good that they're not just sitting on their hands and waiting for things to happen. They're taking the money that they've saved and they're potentially investing it in their future through signings that they can flip for things. So that's what I'm thankful for.
Oh, yeah, of course. And I mean, you mentioned a lot of the things that I mentioned while I was on that quadcast yesterday with the other three hosts. One of them, of course, is I don't think Ben Cherington's done yet. I don't think he's done this offseason. I mean, it's only November right now. He still has 3 months, unless there is a lockout, of course, which there probably will be. But as I predicted, I expect it to be done by Christmas. If it's done by Christmas, he still has another 2 months to get some stuff done. I think he's still going to bring in another pitcher. I think he's still going to bring in some relief pitching like he has already in Eric Hanhold. And I think that he also is going to look for a backup catcher. And one thing that I wouldn't be surprised with right now is there's a lot of these teams that are not in on a lot of these big free agents. Like the Yankees have said, they're not in on a lot of the big free agents. The Dodgers have said they really only want to bring back Corey Seager or stick with Trey Turner. Don't be surprised if the Pirates are in the market for one of these guys. Not saying that they're going to get them, but they're already saying they're interested in Seiya Suzuki, the power-hitting Japanese outfielder from Japan. I've talked about him. He's awesome. He has less strikeouts than walks. He had 35 home runs last year. If the Pirates could get a deal done with him on the market of what they said, $8 to $12 million, I mean, just do it. Like, if he's really that good, just go and get him. And, I mean, you've already seen the Detroit Tigers make a move for a guy like Eduardo Rodriguez. I think smaller teams are really going to start making some moves here. So that's one of the things I'm thankful for because it includes the Pirates. I really thought there was a chance they might go get Steven Matz. I didn't expect Steven Matz to sign for that much money. But there's still a lot of guys that the Pirates can bring in that will make this team better in 2022. Not saying that they're going to be like uber competitive. They're going to probably win maybe 70, 75 games. 75 games being the max. But would any Pirates fan really be mad with this roster if it wins 75 games in 2022? It'd be kind of hard to find some, unless they're the ones that just don't care and only want to see the team win. But if this team wins 75 games or even 70 games in 2022, you have a real cause to look at 2023 as a pretty solid year, as a year that the Pirates can compete. So that's one of the things I'm thankful for as well, is just having an idea that the team could potentially be around that area in the upcoming year.
Yeah, you're more hopeful about the CBA situation than I am. I think I think there's a lot of pent up frustration on both sides, and I still kind of think they're going to miss games. I think this is going to drag into the spring and potentially into the early summer because there's a lot of festering wounds there, and the players are mad and the owners are mad, and when those things happen, those tend to be when lockouts happen. So I'm kind of expecting games to be missed, but I'll be pleasantly surprised if there's a deal by Christmas. And like you said, I think looking toward 2022, what are your expectations for the Pirates? I think 70 wins is a good threshold. That'd be an 8-win improvement. And you'd hope some of these younger players can step in and make that kind of a difference. We always talk about, adding wins, and it's a lot easier to go from 62 to 70 than it is to go from, 80 to 90, for example. So, we do want to start seeing some progress from this franchise if you're going to believe in the long-term trajectory. And I think 70 wins is a reasonable total. And it seems like they might be making a push toward that range because they are showing interest in making investments in the big league product. And I think that's a good sign if you have to watch this team every night, not necessarily if you're looking for a massive winner, but if you're going to watch them every night, at least they'll have more competitive nights than they had in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, let's hope that they don't get beat by the Reds like 97-23 or whatever random number that was this year. It was ridiculous. But Adam, thank you so much for coming on as always, as you do every Friday. I'm trying to find like a fun nickname for you coming on Fridays, but it's kind of hard with the name Adam and Friday to like. I was gonna be like Friedom. I don't know. It's too difficult. So we'll just say Adam Bittner Fridays for now. But Adam, go ahead and tell the wonderful people what you're up to this weekend, what you're gonna be up to in the coming weeks over there at the Post.
Yeah, I'll be working Sunday for Steelers Bengals. Big game for the Steelers this weekend. We've also got some, big college games. Penn State's playing Michigan State, possibly for a big upset. Pitt is trying to get to 10 wins for only the second time since the 80s. So that's a really big deal for Pitt, even though they're not playing a great team in Syracuse. And then we're going to be rolling into ACC Championship week after that. So stay tuned to post-gazette.com. Stay tuned to all of our great writers. Obviously, Jason Mackey and Mike Persak are still working hard on the Pirates beat. Jason, I think, was first on the Yoshi Tsutsugo news. So, check out his work and keep an eye on him because he's going to give you the scoop when there's a scoop to be given.
Before I plug my stuff, by the way, I got to ask a question since you cover the whole college football thing because I need to hear somebody else's opinion other than the Twitter opinion. You're a Penn State guy, as you mentioned before the podcast started. What were your thoughts on the James Franklin deal? Were you happy with it? Like what like metric are you on?
Just to boil it down, I think it's a necessary move. I think a lot of people question, why are you paying a coach who hasn't gotten to the playoff? But the playoff's expanding to 12 teams in a couple of years, and James Franklin would have been in a 12-team playoff 3 times. And I think the game right now is to stay close to that top 12 range and start to break the logjam that these teams that have kind of consolidated their power in the 4-team format. If you're a Penn State and you make a 12-team format, well, then you start to get some of the oxygen those teams have had, and you can kind of tell the Alabamas and Ohio States of the world game on. So I think that's kind of the game for Penn State at this point is, stay in the race until you can start making the playoff and start making some headway. And I think that's kind of where it is. I don't think Penn State's going to be a top 4 team in the next couple of years, but I don't think they have to be for this deal to work out. So that's kind of where my mind is.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, go Dogs, of course. My boys over there play Georgia Tech tomorrow, so that'll be a game I'll probably be watching on my phone while I watch Michigan and Ohio State. But of course, you guys could follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan. You could follow Adam on Twitter at FujiMaster24. Also, since we brought up Penn State, shout out to Locked On Nittany Lions over there. They're on the same little network that I am, so shouts out to them over there. They're phenomenal people as well. But thank you guys for tuning in to the podcast every single day, as you always do. And as I always tell you, I'm probably not going to make you any money, so make sure you go check out your boy Q and Lee Sterling over at Locked On Bets. Make sure you check out Adam over at the Post-Gazette and everybody else over there. They do a phenomenal job and give you the journalism that you're looking for. And guys, thank you so much for an awesome Friday episode. I will see you again on Monday with Gary Morgan, but until then, I will see you on the flip side.